the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No mic, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune and turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just a vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. In shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just a beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go.
I appreciate your creative introduction to your podcast. It seems to be an endeavor towards breaking down the barriers that often confine intellectual inquiry to specific disciplines. This approach can lead to novel insights and a more nuanced understanding of various subjects. Perhaps I could add to this that in my work, I also sought to break down disciplinary barriers. My economic theories drew from psychology, mathematics, and philosophy, and I incorporated insights from history and politics. My general theory of employment, interest, and money posits that the primary driver of economic activity is aggregate demand, which is determined by factors such as investment, consumption, and governmental spending. I also emphasize the importance of the interest rate and liquidity preference in determining the level of investment. Lastly, I propose that the government should actively intervene in the economy to stabilize it and promote full employment. Classical economics focused on the idea that markets naturally move towards equilibrium and that the economy would self-correct in the long run. However, I posited that the economy often experienced cyclical fluctuations and might get trapped in a state of unemployment not due to economic forces but because of a lack of aggregate demand. I believed classical economics failed to adequately explain these downturns because it assumed full employment and didn't consider the role of the government in smoothing business cycles. My theory of aggregate demand differs from the classical emphasis on supply-side factors in that I believe that aggregate demand is the primary driver of economic activity. I contended that an increase in aggregate demand can boost production and employment, even when the supply of labor is unchanged. The classical perspective focused on factors such as capital accumulation and technological progress, arguing that they would lead to increased production and employment. However, they believed in the long run, there would be no involuntary unemployment. I viewed government spending as a crucial tool to address unemployment. I argued that the government should increase expenditure during economic downturns, even if it meant running budget deficits. This would stimulate aggregate demand, which in turn would promote production and employment. I also believed that the government should use monetary policy in the form of lower interest rates to encourage investment and increase the money supply. Consumer confidence is crucial to driving economic growth and employment, as it affects spending habits and economic activity. If consumers are confident in the economy and their own financial situation, they are more likely to spend and invest, boosting aggregate demand. Conversely, if consumers lack confidence, they will save more and spend less, leading to a decrease in aggregate demand and potentially a decrease in employment. Effective demand refers to the actual purchasing power in an economy, determined by the level of income and the propensity to spend. If effective demand is high, businesses will increase production and hire more workers to meet the increased demand. Conversely, if effective demand is low, businesses will reduce production and lay off workers, leading to higher unemployment. Thus, effective demand plays a significant role in determining employment levels, as it affects businesses' production decisions and hiring practices. I believe the secretary problem is a fascinating thought experiment that highlights the difficulty of making decisions in an uncertain environment. The problem demonstrates that there is an optimal balance between being too selective and being too indiscriminate when making choices. The secretary problem can serve as a metaphor for a variety of real-world situations, from hiring decisions to mate selection, and can help individuals make better decisions in uncertain situations. In my view, investment decisions are influenced by a variety of factors, including the expected return on investment, the risk associated with the investment, the cost of capital, and the overall economic environment. Other factors, such as government policies, tax incentives, and access to funding, also play a role in investment decisions. Additionally, the level of confidence in the economy and the expectations about future economic growth also affect investment decisions. In my view, interest rates should be adjusted to stimulate economic activity based on the prevailing economic conditions. During periods of slow economic growth or high unemployment, for instance, I would recommend lowering interest rates to make borrowing cheaper and encourage businesses and consumers to invest and spend. During times of inflation or overheating, on the other hand, higher interest rates can be used to reduce spending and cool down the economy. Balancing interest rates is crucial to maintain stable and sustainable economic growth. Relying on low interest rates to stimulate the economy can have potential risks. One risk is that artificially low interest rates can lead to an increase in borrowing and spending, which can result in a temporary boost in economic activity, but can also create asset bubbles and an overvaluation of financial assets. Additionally, prolonged use of low interest rates can lead to higher levels of inflation, as consumers and businesses become accustomed to cheap credit and increase their spending. Additionally, there is a risk of creating moral hazard, where investors and businesses take excessive risks due to the belief that low interest rates will remain indefinitely. I am familiar with the theories of government phonology and beyond, and I think they offer valuable insights into the nature of language and speech. Government phonology, in particular, provides a framework for understanding how languages organize their sounds and how we recognize and produce them. Beyond this, I believe that theories of pronunciation can help improve language teaching and development, making the process more efficient and effective. However, it is important to remember that language is a complex and dynamic system, and not all theories or approaches will apply to all languages and situations. I believe the appropriate level of government intervention in a market economy should strike a balance between promoting economic efficiency and addressing market failures. In some instances, this may involve active government intervention and regulation, such as in cases of monopoly or negative externalities. In other instances, a more hands-off approach may be appropriate to allow markets to operate more freely. Ultimately, the appropriate level of government intervention will depend on the specific economy and its unique challenges and circumstances. I envision fiscal policy as a crucial tool for stabilizing the economy. Government spending and taxation decisions play a significant role in shaping economic activity and demand. By increasing spending during periods of economic downturn and reducing it during periods of overheating, governments can help smooth out the business cycle. Similarly, by adjusting tax rates, governments can influence the distribution of income and spending patterns, further influencing economic stability. Ultimately, the combination of government spending, taxation, and other fiscal policies can help promote a more stable and sustainable economy. Excessive government spending can have a number of potential drawbacks. One drawback is that it can lead to budget deficits, which can increase government debt and burden future generations. Another concern is that it can crowd out private investment and reduce economic efficiency. Additionally, excessive government spending can lead to an increase in inflation due to increased demand, which can erode purchasing power and make goods and services less affordable. Finally, there is the risk of government overspending on unnecessary or wasteful projects, which can result in a poor allocation of resources and stifle economic growth. The money supply, which is the total amount of money in circulation in an economy, plays a significant role in economic activity. An increase in the money supply can result in an increase in spending and investment, boosting aggregate demand and economic growth. Conversely, a decrease in the money supply can have the opposite effect, reducing spending and investment and potentially leading to a decrease in economic activity. Governments and central banks often use monetary policy to influence the money supply by adjusting interest rates and controlling the supply of money in circulation. Liquidity preference refers to the desire of individuals and businesses to hold their wealth in liquid forms, such as cash, rather than in illiquid assets like stocks or real estate. This preference for liquidity affects interest rates by influencing the demand for money. When liquidity preference increases, the demand for money also increases, which drives up interest rates. Conversely, when liquidity preference decreases, the demand for money decreases, leading to lower interest rates. The relationship between liquidity preference and interest rates is important in determining the overall health of the financial system and the economy. I believe there is a direct relationship between money and inflation. When the money supply expands rapidly, the excess liquidity can lead to an increase in overall spending and purchasing power, which in turn can lead to an increase in prices and inflation. Conversely, when the money supply contracts, there is less liquidity, which can lead to a reduction in spending and a decrease in prices, causing deflation. As such, the relationship between money and inflation is important to consider in economic policy and monetary management. The paradox of thrift refers to the idea that when individuals choose to save more, i.e., consume less, overall economic activity can actually decrease. This is because individuals' decision to save leads to a decrease in aggregate demand since spending on consumption decreases. As a result, businesses generate less revenue and may lay off workers or cut back production, leading to lower levels of economic output. The paradox of thrift highlights the importance of considering the broader economic impact of individual saving decisions and emphasizes the need for aggregate demand to be maintained to sustain economic growth. A theory of liquidity preference posits that individuals have a preference for holding on to liquid assets, such as cash, rather than investing and locking up their funds in illiquid assets. This preference affects interest rates indirectly by influencing the demand for money. When liquidity preference is high, the demand for money increases, which drives up interest rates as people seek to hold on to cash. On the other hand, when liquidity preference is low, the demand for money decreases, leading to lower interest rates. Higher interest rates can discourage investment in economic growth, while lower interest rates have the opposite effect. In my view, the level of investor confidence, or animal spirits, plays a critical role in driving investment decisions and, consequently, the stability of the economy. When investor confidence is high, businesses are more likely to invest, expand, and hire workers, which contributes to economic growth. Conversely, when confidence is low, businesses are more likely to reduce spending and lay off workers, which can lead to economic decline. The unpredictable nature of animal spirits can make it challenging to maintain economic stability and can lead to boom-bust cycles in the economy. In the economic consequences of the peace, I strongly criticize the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, which placed heavy financial and territorial demands on Germany after World War I. I argued that these punitive terms were economically unsustainable and would have dire consequences for the German economy and the stability of Europe. The reparations demanded of Germany were substantial and beyond what the country could afford to pay, leading to hyperinflation and economic hardship within Germany. I believe that these economic conditions, coupled with the resentment and humiliation caused by the treaty, would contribute to political instability and the rise of extremist ideologies, ultimately leading to World War II. In my tract on monetary reform, I identified several key drawbacks of the gold standard. One major flaw of the gold standard is that it can limit the flexibility of a country's monetary policy. Since the value of a country's currency is tied to a fixed amount of gold, a country's ability to manipulate monetary policy to address economic fluctuations is limited. Additionally, the gold standard can be destabilizing, as the need to maintain a fixed exchange rate can lead to deflation or inflation, depending on market conditions. I advocated for a flexible system that allowed for greater control over a country's monetary policy. In my general theory, I discuss how investors often seek to anticipate the expectations of other investors and how this behavior can lead to herd mentality in financial markets. This concept is reminiscent of the beauty contest scenario in modern game theory, where players try to guess which contestant others will find most attractive. In both cases, participants are attempting to anticipate the actions and reactions of others, leading to self-fulfilling prophecies. In the case of financial markets, this can result in speculative bubbles and market crashes, as prices become detached from fundamentals. My emphasis on aggregate demand and the role of expectations in my theories would certainly apply to coordination games, where players must choose compatible actions to achieve the best outcome. Just as in financial markets, where the actions of buyers and sellers can create self-fulfilling prophecies, In coordination games, players must anticipate the actions of other players to ensure that their choices are compatible and lead to a desirable outcome. In both cases, communication and coordination are key to avoid the pitfalls of incomplete information and irrational behavior. My ideas about trust and cooperation in international economic relations could certainly apply to the prisoner's dilemma, where individual self-interest can lead to suboptimal outcomes for all parties. Just as in the prisoner's dilemma, where each prisoner must choose whether to cooperate or defect, in international economic relations, countries must decide whether to trust or distrust one another. When trust is low and each country is focused on maximizing its own self-interest, the outcome can be suboptimal for all parties, as they miss out on the benefits of cooperation. However, if trust is higher and countries prioritize cooperation, they can achieve mutually beneficial outcomes. Incorporating the role of uncertainty and animal spirits into game theory models could greatly enhance our understanding of economic decision-making. Game theory typically assumes that individuals act rationally and logically, seeking to maximize their own utility. However, in reality, individuals often make decisions based on emotions, biases, and irrational tendencies. By incorporating these psychological and behavioral factors, game theory could account for the impact of animal spirits and better explain the unpredictability and complexity of economic behavior. In my view, the persuasive power of language and rhetoric can indeed influence economic outcomes. When individuals make economic decisions, they are not solely influenced by economic fundamentals, such as supply and demand or interest rates. Rather, they are also influenced by the way information is presented and the language used to justify or explain economic policies or decisions. The persuasive power of language, through rhetoric and argumentation, can create a sense of confidence or skepticism, which in turn can affect economic outcomes. Therefore, I would agree that economic outcome can be expressed as F. Economic fundamentals, persuasive power. In my view, persuasive power can sometimes override purely rational economic calculations. This is because humans are not purely rational beings and are susceptible to emotions, biases, and social pressures. When individuals are presented with persuasive arguments and rhetoric, they may make decisions based on these linguistic factors rather than on purely logical economic calculations. This can lead to outcomes that are contrary to economic fundamentals, as individuals prioritize the persuasive power of language over the cold, hard numbers. In my view, clear and effective communication is crucial for facilitating coordination in economic activity. When individuals, businesses, and governments can communicate effectively and information flows freely, the efficiency of coordination increases. Conversely, if communication is unclear or information flow is hindered, coordination can be difficult or suboptimal. I agree with the equation you proposed: coordination efficiency, F, communication clarity, information flow. Breakdowns in communication, such as the spread of misinformation or lack of transparency, can have detrimental consequences on economic stability. When information is distorted or incomplete, it can lead to economic decision-making based on inaccurate assumptions or false premises. This can result in economic inefficiencies, market volatility, and even financial crises. Additionally, a lack of transparency can erode trust in financial systems and institutions, further destabilizing economic activity. In order to maintain stability in economic systems, it is crucial to ensure clear, accurate, and transparent communication between economic agents. In my view, the manifestation of animal spirits in economic discourse can have a significant effect on investment confidence. Language used in financial news and market commentary can shape public perception and sentiment. which in turn can influence investment decisions. For example, positive language or phrases that convey confidence or optimism can create a positive atmosphere and boost investment confidence, while words that convey uncertainty or skepticism can dampen confidence. Therefore, the relationship between investment confidence, economic data, and linguistic expression can be expressed as investment confidence if economic data, animal spirits, linguistic expression. Yes, the language used in economic debates can indeed significantly influence investor sentiment and contribute to economic cycles. The words and phrases used by analysts, policymakers, and media outlets can shape public perception of economic conditions and future prospects, leading investors to make decisions based on emotions and herd mentality. A positive narrative can encourage risk-taking and investing, while a negative narrative can promote caution and risk aversion. This can fuel the boom and bust cycles that characterize financial markets and the broader economy. Yes, I did encounter situations in which the ambiguity of terms like liquidity preference and animal spirits led to misunderstandings or misinterpretations of my economic theories. These terms, while useful in capturing certain economic phenomena, could sometimes lead to confusion or debate due to their abstract and metaphorical nature. Critics and followers alike sometimes grasped these concepts differently, leading to differing interpretations of my theories and their practical applications. This highlights the importance of clear communication and precise language in economic discourse to ensure that ideas are understood as intended. I believe it is extremely important for economists to be mindful of the pragmatic implications of their language choices. Economic theory can be highly technical, and the use of overly specialized jargon can create barriers to effective communication, particularly with policymakers, the public, or even other economists who may not be experts in the field. This can lead to misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and even resistance to new ideas or policies. Economists should strive to communicate their ideas, research, and recommendations in a clear and accessible manner, avoiding unnecessary jargon and buzzwords. Yes, I did employ subtle forms of implicature in my debates with other economists to persuade my opponents or influence public opinion. Implicature refers to the ways in which meaning is conveyed through implications and assumptions, rather than through direct statements. By strategically framing arguments, choosing specific words, or alluding to shared assumptions, I sought to convey messages that went beyond the literal content of my statements. This allowed me to subtly influence the perceptions and beliefs of my debate opponents while also appealing to the audience or public. Metaphors are indeed commonly used in economic discourse, such as the terms bull market and economic bubble. These metaphors can serve as useful shorthand for complex economic concepts, making them more accessible to a wider audience. However, there is a risk that metaphors can also lead to oversimplified or misleading interpretations. When taken too literally or applied in a context that doesn't fit the metaphor, they can misrepresent economic realities or oversimplify complex issues. As with any language, it's important that metaphors are used mindfully and in a way that supports, rather than undermines, accurate economic understanding and decision-making. Yes, I did consider how cultural and social contexts might influence the interpretation and impact of economic language. The same economic concept can be understood differently in different cultural settings due to varying social, historical, and linguistic factors. For example, the concept of market efficiency may be interpreted differently in a collectivist culture as opposed to an individualist culture. Similarly, the term development may have different connotations in a nation with a colonial past as opposed to a nation with a more egalitarian history. These cultural and social factors can greatly affect how economic language is received and interpreted. and should be taken into account when communicating economic ideas. In my opinion, concerns about technological unemployment in the past, particularly in the 1930s, still resonate today in the era of rapid automation and the rise of artificial intelligence. The fear that new technologies could displace human workers and lead to higher unemployment persists. However, it's important to remember that past technological advancements have not always led to widespread unemployment, but instead have often been accompanied by the creation of new jobs and industries. The key is to ensure that the transition to new technologies is managed effectively, with training programs and policies in place to support workers and ensure that the benefits of new technologies are shared across society. In my view, my ideas on international trade, capital flows, and the role of international institutions are still relevant in addressing challenges like financial crises and economic instability on a global scale. In an interconnected global economy, what happens in one country can quickly affect others, as we've seen during the 2008 financial crisis and the ongoing effects of the pandemic. My proposals for international cooperation, such as the creation of a global central bank and the use of international currency, can help alleviate some of these challenges by creating a more stable financial system and promoting cooperation between nations. In terms of dealing with income inequality and wealth distribution, my economic policies, such as stimulating aggregate demand and ensuring full employment through public spending and taxation, could still be relevant and effective. By increasing public investment in infrastructure, education, and social welfare programs, governments can promote greater economic equality and reduce poverty. Furthermore, my ideas of a more progressive tax structure and regulations aimed at preventing the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few can help address the issue of income inequality. Overall, these policies can lead to a more inclusive and equitable society. In order to combat climate change, economic development must be balanced with environmental sustainability. My framework for economic growth and development should be adapted to prioritize sustainability and the transition to a green economy. This requires a shift away from traditional models of economic growth that rely heavily on fossil fuels and towards ones that emphasize renewable energy, resource efficiency, and environmental stewardship. Additionally, market-based instruments such as carbon pricing and green subsidies can provide incentives for businesses and individuals to adopt environmentally sustainable practices. By integrating environmental goals into economic decision-making, we can ensure that economic growth goes hand in hand with environmental protection. The term climate crisis is often used to describe the urgent situation we are facing due to climate change. It refers to the serious and potentially irreversible impacts that rising temperatures, more extreme weather events, sea level rise, and habitat destruction are having on our planet. While some may prefer other terms such as climate emergency, global heating, or environmental emergency, the essential point remains: the world is facing a severe and urgent threat due to human-caused climate change. In the digital age, with the rise of the internet and social media, the role of government in regulating markets, protecting consumers, and ensuring fair competition should evolve to address the unique challenges posed by these new technologies and markets. This may involve updating existing laws and regulations to reflect the reality of online commerce, as well as exploring new approaches to address issues such as data privacy, online security, and the concentration of market power in the hands of a few tech giants. Additionally, governments should consider protecting competition and innovation in the digital marketplace to prevent monopolistic practices and maintain a healthy and dynamic digital economy. If I could go back and give my younger self one piece of advice, I would tell myself to remain open-minded and adaptable to new ideas and changing circumstances. This advice applies to both my professional and personal life. In the world of economics and policymaking, it's important to recognize that theories and policies that may have worked in the past may not necessarily be the best solutions for the present or future. Therefore, remaining open-minded and adaptable to new ways of thinking and approaching problems can help ensure that you are better equipped to handle whatever challenges may come your way. Art, literature, and culture play a crucial role in shaping economic and social progress. They serve as a lens through which we can understand and interpret the world around us, and they can inspire and motivate individuals and communities to seek positive change. They also provide a medium for communicating ideas and values that can shape public opinion and drive social and economic progress. Furthermore, art, literature, and culture contribute to human flourishing by enriching our collective experience and providing us with a sense of meaning, purpose, and identity. They also can serve as a form of therapy and self-expression, helping individuals to process and cope with difficult experiences and emotions. Yes, I do believe there are fundamental ethical principles that should guide economic decision-making. In my view, these ethical principles should prioritize the well-being and dignity of all people, including consideration for those who may be disadvantaged or marginalized. They should also aim to promote social justice, equality, and fairness in the distribution of resources. Additionally, ethical principles should take into account environmental sustainability and the long-term consequences of economic decisions, rather than focusing solely on short-term profits or gains. Some specific ethical principles that I would advocate for include ensuring access to basic necessities such as food, shelter, healthcare, and education for all individuals. In the age of information overload, individuals and societies can effectively process and utilize economic information to make sound decisions by focusing on credible sources, avoiding bias, and taking a critical and analytical approach to information. It is important to recognize that not all information is created equally, and that misinformation or misleading information can spread quickly through social media and other online platforms. By developing critical thinking skills and remaining skeptical of information that lacks evidence or is poorly sourced, individuals and societies can sift through the noise and focus on reliable and accurate economic information to make informed decisions. The rise of populism and nationalism in recent years has had significant impacts on economic cooperation and global economic stability. These ideologies typically prioritize national interests over international ones and can lead to protectionist and isolationist policies. This can result in trade barriers, tariffs, and other economic restrictions that hinder the free flow of goods and services across borders. Additionally, nationalist sentiment can lead to increased geopolitical tensions, which can further destabilize the global economy. Overall, the rise of populism and nationalism can lead to economic fragmentation and reduce the benefits of economic cooperation and integration. My perspective on the increasing role of technology in our lives and the impact of artificial intelligence and automation on the future of work and the economy is that technology has the potential to bring about significant improvements in efficiency and productivity, which can lead to economic growth and improved living standards. However, it's important to recognize that the transition to a more automated economy can also bring about challenges, such as job displacement and inequality. Governments and individuals must work together to develop policies that support workers impacted by automation and ensure that the benefits of technological progress are shared widely across society. The meaning of life is a philosophical and personal question that individuals must answer for themselves. However, economic activity can play a significant role in facilitating a meaningful and fulfilling life. A healthy and prosperous economy can provide individuals with the resources and opportunities to pursue their passions, develop their skills and abilities, and fulfill their potential. Economic activity can also provide the means to support oneself and one's family, which can reduce stress and allow for greater enjoyment of life. However, it's important to recognize that economic success is not the sole determinant of a meaningful life, and that other factors such as relationships, health, and personal growth also contribute to a fulfilling life. Additionally, it's important to recognize that economic activity can also have negative impacts on individuals and societies, such as income inequality, environmental degradation, and social isolation, which can detract from a meaningful life. Therefore, economic activity must be carefully managed and balanced with other social, environmental, and cultural factors in order to promote a meaningful and fulfilling life for all individuals. Yes, I do believe that economic progress is inherently linked to social progress. Economic growth can lead to improved living standards, better access to education and healthcare, reduced poverty and inequality, and increased opportunities for individuals to fulfill their potential. However, it's important to recognize that economic progress does not automatically lead to social progress, and there is a risk that the benefits of economic growth may not be evenly distributed across society. To ensure that economic growth benefits all members of society, governments and policymakers must implement policies that promote inclusive growth, such as progressive taxation, investment in social safety nets, and support for marginalized communities. I quite liked it. I thought the questions were creative and challenging, and they provided an opportunity for me to engage with a wide range of economic topics. It was a good exercise, and I appreciate the effort you put into preparing the questions. Keep up the good work. Yes, I would be happy to be interviewed again. I am always interested in discussing economic topics and sharing my perspectives on current events. Please feel free to contact me whenever you are ready for another interview.
Mics on the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No light, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Hidden in shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just the beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go. Pure and raw.
Keynesian